All right, here we are, up for discussion here at Ultra Products. This evening, man, I'm excited about this evening. It's been a
I can
long time
tell.
coming. I am. I'm elated. So, this evening, our special guest is Craig Clark. Craig hails originally from Wayne City area, and I'm sure a lot of people have heard or know of the myth, the man, the myth, the legend,
which is
Infamous.
infamous. There you go.
Yeah.
I like that. If you guys are watching, if you wouldn't mind, like, share, comment, do all the things that people do. All the rest of you guys, I don't know about.
Yeah, don't do all the things people do.
Well, like, share, comment,
Yeah,
those
okay,
things.
okay.
So, this evening we're going to be talking about past, present, and future, and talking about where all of us have come from. Talking about basically the past that we all have together. And
Well, our very first episode on the podcast was kind of like, how did we get to here?
yeah, and Craig is a pretty major part of that.
Yeah, and when we said get to here, we were talking about, being owners and operators of Ultra Products. And I just briefly, before we started there, I told Craig, I said, what we did back in the day, it would have been something that helped us get to here.
Sure.
And I think we may have mentioned that in the first podcast. So if you want to go back and watch the very first episode 1,
We'll wait
But
while
don't
you
do
watch.
we'll sit here and wait. While you watch
One
that.
thing that Craig is always good for is a good laugh. So
Yeah,
yeah.
I mean that. He means that in the nicest
I'm
and
sorry. I'm
kindest of
trying,
ways.
I'm trying to get all
That's
these things up and rolling. So
Yeah.
we changed up our color this evening. I don't know if
What's that mean? Oh, the lights.
yeah,
The lights.
it's more appealing to the eye.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Usually we're a little bit.
Who's the leader of this group?
It's usually me, but
Okay.
I'm
Well,
trying
we
to make
have
sure
to-
everything's rolling.
We have to get this.
So-
We just have to. You just have to get this going because we started out.
So- What year did we
20
start, Craig?
You ran Team Harvest a year or two, kind of ish, before we come on.
So the idea kind of happened around 2005, I want to think or say. And
We
Richard
started right
Hooper
there
and I
around that, right?
we were in
Yeah.
church together, and I was filming Richard hunt, and he and I got to talking at church like, man, we should do this more often. And I think Richard actually said something to one of you guys because I ran into Wes.
I remember our
at
first
Orchardville
meeting.
Church.
Yeah, our first meeting was at Pizza Hut.
Yeah.
Was I
Because
don't know if
food
I
is
was there
important.
for that.
I don't
Yeah,
know.
you were there.
Was I there?
It was you and Wes and Richard, and Wes was like, "Yeah, we're doing this," and Richard's like, "Yeah," and Lathan in his wisdom and his, you're a little bit slower to move. It's like, I need to think about.
No,
pray
he's
about
not.
this.
No, he's not.
This is good. This is good because we're still doing this today, aren't we?
We are.
Wes is like, "Are you doing this, man? Or are you in?"
Oh,
I
Yeah.
can't answer you today.
I've always been foot on the throttle. Let's go. And sometimes that gets me in trouble.
So we lend good to each other.
We
Because,
really do.
because you need somebody.
Yeah.
It balances because I'm burning the brake calibers off the thing, trying to hold him back, and he's like, "Let off the brake a little bit so we can get somewhere." So when you meet in the middle with that,
And if
it
you know me
balances.
very much, you know that I need balance because I struggle with my balance pretty bad too. So
in the natural,
In the
in the
natural.
physical.
Oh.
Most of my comic stories around hunting have to do with Wes laying face down in the water, the snow, the mud,
yeah.
rocks. I mean, one of the greatest ones I seen him roll 10 yards down a mountainside with a bow in one hand and a mountain blue grouse and the other, which is basically a big quail or
Yeah.
chicken.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, let go of the chicken. Let go of the chicken.
Oh.
Save yourself. The bird's already dead.
I wasn't going to though.
He was like,
I
am
remember
not.
diving through the air and rolling as I
Yeah.
land on my back,
Yeah.
and I'm like, I got him.
I was like, are you all right? He's
Mm-hmm.
like, yeah. I was like, okay.
That
He
could have been
didn't
bad
hurt his bow. Didn't bruise the bird.
and didn't break my back.
It might have had a rock mark on your back, but
yeah.
we made it. Those are good, funny stories now. So yeah,
So Pizza Hut.
Pizza Hut
Yeah,
is where
so
it was birthed.
I think
Well, it was
I even-
birthed before that.
It was, but I think what really got it going was me bringing a briefcase to Pizza Hut.
I do remember
Yes,
that.
I come in
remember.
the Pizza Hut. This is going to be a fit. We're doing this thing. There was nothing in the briefcase, but it was just the appearance of we've got this
Oh.
all together. But I think really once we
fantastic.
decided we were going to do something, we started filming in 2006, and the first trip the three of us took was to Georgia to meet two twins that we didn't know.
Yeah,
And
Brad and Russell.
I'm pretty
were
sure
friends of my
Brad and
sister.
Russell have watched this podcast already.
yeah. Well, if they
Yeah.
have, we would love to see you guys.
We
again,
absolutely would love to see
'cause
the
we
Powell
did
brothers.
create quite a friendship, and that carried on for several years.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you ever
They-
talk to Brad or Russell?
No, I haven't in
Yeah.
quite a while. But I have to tell the story about this trip because
Oh, golly.
we show up at my sister's house, and I think she was living in Atlanta at the
Yep,
time.
Yep.
And we got there. It had to be close to midnight or after by the time we got to her house. And Brad and Russell were there at the house. And that's the first time we met them. I think we were there like 5 minutes, and they're like, "All right, we got to go," because we were turkey hunting. And
Yeah, we went to go turkey hunting. I don't know if I said that.
so we followed them, and I just remember we drove down the interstate, we took an exit, we drove down the highway.
We slept that night at your sister's.
Oh, I thought he told us
No,
that we
we-
would sleep when we were
We
dead.
met him, and remember, it was like this is
I
no.
just remember the banjos playing. That's all I remember.
It had to, we got there at night because we didn't know where we were
got up
going.
at like 3 the
Oh,
next
well,
morning.
so we
Because
did
I
maybe
remember
slept
I
a
slept
little.
on the floor. in
Oh,
the
that
side
is
room,
right. He is right on this.
And we were exhausted because we
Yeah.
drove 8 hours, and we got down there like at 7 or 8 o'clock at night or 9. Got down there not at late, but late, and had like a 10-minute meeting or something with
Yeah,
them.
that was it. That's
And
all
I remember
met
after
these
I
people.
remember after we got done talking to them, they're like, "All right, we'll be here at 3:30," and there wasn't much conversation, and of course, we just met them, and I think we all looked at each other like, "Uh-oh, this is not maybe what we thought it was going to be."
We may have thought that, but I was
We
also
didn't
thinking,
realize it
This is
until-
going to be a great video. These guys are-
Oh.
well, and then the drive to the place.
Yeah,
Um,
because we had to drive. It was like a hour and a half or 2-hour drive or something
Yeah,
like that.
I honestly I thought we were all three going to be murdered, and they were just going to steal our stuff.
I didn't realize there were places that remote in Georgia.
Well, we pulled up to that little log cabiny thing back in the woods.
Boy
and
Scout.
It was like that's where you thought you heard the banjo.
Yeah.
And I was pretty sure I saw that
Oh.
in a Disney movie, like on Hansel and Gretel or something like that. I was like,
It
this
had
is
that
where
look, man.
this is where
That-
the moss hanging from the roof. I was like, this is where children go.
I think there was a
to get
hole in
eaten.
the roof. I mean, I think
Oh,
you could
it
see
rained
outside.
in like crazy
Yeah.
at one night.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that was where we met Rick and Bart. Isn't that correct? Yes.
No.
Yes, it is.
No. Well, I didn't meet him there.
We went
Uh,
back there with Rick and Bart. They stayed in that place.
Yes,
I
they
know
did.
they did.
Yeah, I don't think it was that time because we had just started, but
no,
we did
it was
go
just
back.
it was
Okay.
just Russell and Brad.
It was the following year, I guess.
It was-
Yeah,
Because I remember
I
Rick
didn't
and
go
Bart
back.
being like, "Oh my word, what in the
where
world?"
are we staying? Yeah.
I didn't go back because I never saw a turkey.
But you did get
Oh.
great sleep entertainment because the two of them fighting in their sleep
Oh yeah.
scared. Lathan was ready to get pack stuff up and go.
I will
home.
say they cooked a good steak while we were down there.
At Longhorns.
No,
that was the second time.
was it?
Yeah.
We
Well,
went. They took us to Longhorns.
Well, they did take us
And
there.
their
they
saying
introduced us to
was-
those fire sticks or whatever. What were those
Yeah.
called?
Yeah, poppers.
Light or not?
No, not that.
Those jalapeno poppers.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the light or not. Remember we was walking through the woods with them, and they's like, oh,
I do
man,
remember that.
Man,
yeah.
there's some good light or not right there, you know. And I was like, after about the 5th time, I was like, what's light or not? And they explained it to us, and then we wanted some.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
pretty neat.
the
I took some
center.
home and I don't know. I ended up burning it in the trash or something.
we brought cane home.
We did.
Remember, we were taking
Oh.
those great. I've never seen cane that big.
It was bamboo.
Well, it's cane.
Yeah.
It's as big as bamboo. It's not bamboo, is it? It's
I don't
cane.
know.
We got bamboozled.
But remember,
I'll
we
go with
cut,
anything to make the story sound good.
we cut the inside out. Remember, and made tater guns out of
Yes,
it.
we did.
Yeah, and them guys were like, "That's the coolest thing I ever seen in my life." We were using 209 primers out of a muzzle loader, some camp fuel out of a thing, and a
shooting
piece of
stuff out of bamboo.
bamboo or cane, whatever it was. It was big enough to be bamboo.
It was huge, man.
Yeah,
I took it home and used it for gutters on my house.
we packed a bunch
Oh.
home because you was going to make furniture.
That was another adventure. I mean,
Let's not tell everything that I come up with.
We packed all that stuff home, and he's like, "I'm gonna make furniture and sell it."
Oh man.
That's good times. We've grown
we didn't
up.
get
a
any
lot.
video.
We were
But-
horrible B-reel back
yeah,
then. We didn't know nothing about B-reel back then.
yeah. I didn't even see a turkey.
I remember coming over to your house because you were still living at home with your parents. Stories get,
It just keeps getting bad.
and I remember coming over like 2 years later,
Oh man.
and there's bamboo laying on the back porch.
Oh, I'm
We
sweating
couldn't
like
throw it out.
crazy.
All
He
right.
was still designing his furniture.
Yeah. Oh, that's funny. I forgot all about all
Oh
that.
gosh.
That was a good time.
It was.
It was a good time.
I grew up watching Smith Family Robinson, Swiss
Swiss,
Family
yeah.
Robinson, man. Oh, golly.
In Wayne County. It's
I'm
Smith.
out.
Oh man, I gotta get it together.
Oh, that's
I
fun.
forgot how much fun we had.
Well,
all we
it
did,
was
all we done was spend money.
it was it was after that things got serious though, because Wes and I took a trip to Springfield where we were things honestly things did play place a little bit. I mean,
Yeah.
we I think you killed a buck
Yeah,
that you may have
Yeah, that was the
decoyed in
yeah,
in the rain.
yeah.
That was the Smoke City, USA,
Smoke
baby.
City.
And so
USA.
that was huge because we
Yeah.
were able to make promotional
Stuff, scissor reels, and
DVDs and
Yeah.
stuff to hand out, and we went to the Bass Pro Shop in Springfield at their hunting days, their fall hunting
Yeah.
thing, and we met Darren Stevenson from Bushnell, and that's how we got hooked
Man,
up
he
with
was huge for helping us
Yeah.
out too. I forgot about
in
him.
Bowtech.
I wonder if he's still in the industry.
I don't know.
I remember when you called, and we talked about some of this stuff, not in this detail,
Yeah.
but in number one, our first episode, first podcast, and we were like you came to my house like jumping for joy. It's like they're sending Botex, you know, and I was like, oh, surely not, you know. We had like one little scissor reel that we showed off, or something.
Well,
City, USA,
baby.
Well, the cool thing about it was there was like only 40 shows that existed.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
we
it
were
was a
coming
different-
in on the time when
it's a
there
different
was
time.
Yeah.
It really was.
And I just remember talking to the guy he was a diamond rep, but I was telling him what we were doing. I didn't even know he was a rep. We were just standing talking, and he just said, "Hey, John would probably like to hear about this." And I was like, "Well, who's John?" And he's like, "Oh, he owns Bowtech, the whole company." And he texted him right there, or whatever device, email, I don't know what it was.
It was a blueberry.
But I just remember
Blackberry.
emailing. Yeah, I did have a BlackBerry.
Man, I'm telling you, Smith Family Robinson with her
With her
blueberries.
Willy Wonka was in there too. But yeah, I sent him an email. He responded right away. Within a week, I come home from work and there's like cases of Bowtech literature stacked at my back door.
Yeah.
And then there were like, I think we got 6 or 7
6
gardens.
bows, yeah.
That was the first time.
We didn't even
gardening-
have 6 guys, and they said 6 bows.
Man, times have changed. And that was, I can remember opening magazines. I know nobody does that now, but I still look, back then we still looked at magazines.
Yeah.
And I remember they were advertising the new Bowtech Guardian. I was like, look at that crazy, awesome looking thing. And then we turned around like a month or 2 later and we was getting them. I was like, you got to be kidding me. I was like, I'm not going to believe it. Great man of faith. You know, I was like, I'm not going to believe it till I see it.
Yeah,
Doubting Thomas.
that was pretty amazing because we were just looking up people and just sending promotional stuff. And that's how we got with Bart,
Yeah.
QAD.
The Bart thing was
Luminoc.
like, yeah,
Luminoc.
man,
Uh,
we had a lot of good contacts.
yeah,
back
we
then.
did.
Yeah.
We were pretty blessed.
Yeah.
There
But
was,
there's a lot of work that went into it too.
Yeah.
A lot of footwork to contact the people. But at that point, people were so gracious to help you out because they were like, if you're doing something, we're willing to try and help it.
because we almost had Realtree at one time, didn't we? Realtree was just right on the thing.
We had talked to
cusp
him
or
or something.
something.
I can't remember how that connection. There was a connection there though.
Because
can't
we never
remember
really, I guess we had ASAT as a
Yeah.
kind of a, I don't know if they were a sponsor or just someone.
Did we
that
have
just-
any others?
Sponsor wise,
Yeah.
Uh,
We had Limb Saver.
Limb Saver. Yeah, we got bows from them and all
Nice
kinds of
guys,
stuff.
but man, those bows. Was not a
Yeah.
fan of those bows.
Man, it's been a long time. And the industry has changed so much.
Oh.
Some of the
So
people
that's-
that we were connecting. I mean, Troy Ruiz helped us out
Yeah.
from Primos.
Alex Rutledge was a
Alex.
pleasure. Yeah.
You guys got to sit down with Roger, didn't you?
Raglan.
We
Yeah.
went to dinner with Roger.
Yeah.
Met with some. You guys weren't there for this, but at one point towards the end, and I look back at the. I hate to say you have regrets, but I look back at this and think, man, what was I thinking?
You should
But
get
I
that
s-
tattooed on you. No regret.
I do.
Yeah, you already have it.
Yeah.
It's spelled wrong. Got
Well,
one regret.
I'm from Wayne City.
Uh,
But anyway, there's a TV producer that Joey Slover got us hooked up with. I can't remember the guy's name. He's from Orchardville, but he did a lot of production work. I can't think of his name. Anyway, he met me for dinner one night and he said, Joey's been telling me about this. I've looked at your stuff. It's really good. He said, I'm going to give you some pointers here. And I'm also going to give you a tip that can make this go. And I'm like, well, what does this guy know? He's
yeah.
only worked with Garth Brooks and all these other people. But at that time, YouTube really wasn't a thing. And he
Yeah.
said, if I were you, I would forget television, I would forget DVDs and focus entirely on streaming your stuff.
Man,
And
that guy, if you could remember his name, he was a step ahead.
yes, he was.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, nobody has the internet. We didn't have smartphones really to watch videos and
I
stuff on.
remember we posted a few videos with Team Harvest early on, and one of them got 25,000 views. And I mean, And honestly, what was funny about it is YouTube sent me a thing saying that
Congratulations.
we could be monetized, and I was like, "Yeah, that's a scam." It just totally blew. Yeah.
The one chance we had to make money, we turned it down.
Yeah, well, we weren't in it for the
I
money.
mean, it was early enough.
That's true. We did a good job proving that out.
Oh man.
It would have been nice to be reimbursed maybe for some of the things
Sure.
that you guys probably dumped way more money than I ever did.
We had
Yeah.
some tough goes of it on some things.
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
We had the rep for Victory in here. Oh gosh, I don't know, a month and a half ago or a month ago. And I mentioned, we're not, we've had some bad dealings. And and the guy from Botec, Matt Katzfuss, he was talking to me. He was at Victory at the time when
Hmm.
all that was going down. So,
That's
Hmm.
crazy.
yeah.
I learned some lessons from that. One, that I probably shouldn't be involved in any business. And two, you don't play with the big guys and think you're on the same court.
You're definitely not on the same playing
Yeah.
field. That I want to think that we would be better at it now, but looking back on it, man, we were so overplayed on that.
It was such an industry at that time, and probably still is. And I think I remember us all being together and talking to people that'd been in hunting, making videos, and basically marketing themselves to some degree. But I think I remember people looking at us and say, "Watch yourself,"
Oh yeah,
because this is a cutthroat type.
it is a tough industry.
It
Where
is.
Well,
Well-
and I remember somebody saying, "It said there's so many things done here that are like, yeah, we'll do that,"
handshake deals, yeah,
Yeah.
and then you're like, you'll walk out on that, and you'll find out
that ice is
that
real
ain't
thin.
that ain't happening. You know? Now you've promoted them for 3 or 6 months, and they're like, "Yeah, we're not doing that now."
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
they basically got some
Free advertising.
free advertising. Yeah.
Grim Reaper was good to us.
Yeah, they were.
Oh, we
Yeah.
had Grim Reaper.
Yeah.
Forgot about Grim Reaper.
Man, we
There
just
was.
want to give a shout out to every sponsor that we ever had.
If you go back through your logs and find a name in there that says Team Harvest back in, that you did this.
Check out
that's-
Wes.
Yeah. So
was
let's
back in-
circle.
But on the flip side, there were so many amazing things that I would have never been able to experience in my life if it hadn't been for what we were doing.
Sure.
Because,
And at the end of the day, I was telling him before you were still getting things leveled out and running. I was like, that's a product that helped us maybe see bigger, think bigger,
Sure.
and understand some things that helped drive us to the place where we could be owners of Ultra and we even got to go on and hunt on some
We did some awesome hunts.
yeah.
Yeah.
And got things videoed and done things with other shows.
Went out and hunted with Jeff Miner for elk and
Yeah, I went on an elk
Yeah.
we
hunt.
went to
your
Canada.
caribou
and-
hunt. Yeah.
I went
hunted
I went
caribou.
elk hunting when there was no way at that time logistically that I could,
Yeah.
but because of Team Harvest, I got to go.
Deer
Because
hunted Ohio,
It was-
Kentucky,
Yeah, we did.
I didn't get-
waterfowl in Arkansas. I mean, I just think of hog hunted Arkansas, turkey hunted.
There's a lot of guys who would have wanted to at the time do what we were doing.
yeah,
So we were blessed to do it.
You just had to set your face and go do it, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you guys, I was the type, I'm like, well, I'm a hunter, so if you put a camera out there, I'm going to shoot something in front of it. That was kind of my mindset, but you guys pursued the other end of it and made that part of it happen. But circle back to
Furniture making.
yeah.
Let's-
the Smith family, Robinson, and Russell and Brad, because that turned into a relationship for quite a few years. That they came up here and whitetail hunted with us.
yeah.
And
Brad killed a good one at my in-laws' farm
yeah,
while they were up here.
and Brad he gave me a bow.
Yeah,
That was technically the first bow I ever got give to me. and he wasn't a sponsor, but you know, I was doing my best on that turkey hunt, saving every penny I brought to eat on and stuff. And I was like, Wes, I'm not going to eat. I'm going to try to buy this bow. If you could give me a piece of chicken or something every once in a while. I think we literally had this conversation because I remember I went down there with $300 in my pocket.
Yeah.
I'd mustered up and saved $300 for whatever, for eating and whatever. And then Brad's like, man, I got this Matthews SQ2 bow. I'd sell one of you guys. And I was like, I want that so bad. I always wanted so bad. And I was like, I know it's probably worth more than 300, but I told Wes, I was like, is there any way I can eat basically some of your chicken or whatever you ordered, just enough to keep me alive? And
if you'll help me with the furniture,
if you'll help me, unload my furniture. But I said, I know at the end of the week, I'm going to try to buy that bow from him when we leave this place. And I think I offered him all I had. He's like, yeah, I'd probably do that. I'd have to take some stuff off of it maybe. But I was like, sure. And then we got there and he just gave it to me. I was like, I remember I rode all the way home from Atlanta, Georgia, sitting in the back seat. I think you had a Dodge Ram at that time, and I was sitting in the back seat of your Dodge Ram.
Just staring at
I just sat there with it in the seat. I like even buckled it in, I think. I just sat in the seat with it. I was so excited. I was like, when I get home, I don't care if it's dark 30, I'm going outside and I'm just going to shoot a shot out of it into the target just to see and feel it. But yeah, so he gave me an SQ2 Matthews bow, fully set up, left everything on.
He left everything on.
Because I was like, because then he gave it to me. I was like, well, give me some. If you got an Allen wrench or something, I'll get this stuff off of it. He's like, just take it. He's like, I don't need that stuff, you know. It's like bonded. I should still probably be calling him and thanking him for that. Thank you, Brad.
Some people are just givers.
He gave.
Yeah.
He gave. And I used that thing up, man. I shot that thing so many times. And that's what I killed that Smoke City buck with.
Yep. You shot the good out of it. And then somebody else got to use the good that was left, whatever little bit there was.
Jason Mason. Yep. I give it to Jay. I always thought, I was like, well, if somebody gave it to me, I'm going to give it. And I give it to Jason Mason. He shot it for several years, I think.
I think it's safe to say that there's not very many people on this planet who have given away more bows, personal bows, than you have.
Oh, I don't know about that.
Personal bows? You don't hardly get a bow that you don't give away.
Well, that's true, but I don't know. I just felt
so
like
come here to this archery shop. Ask for Lathan.
The followers of the channel just went through the roof. I just always thought if I got him give to me, I'm gonna pray and think about who would be a good person to give this to, and I give him away. And I don't think we should have this frame of mind, but I've tried to buy bows since and I can't get them bought. Someone just gives them to me.
Yeah.
I tried to buy one offline out of a bow shop out of Alabama.
That's a neat
recently.
Story.
Hope that wasn't recently.
No, this was a few years ago, but I ordered a Strother bow, Strother, however you want to say it. It was like last year's model. This bow shop still had it as brand new. And he had posted it, hold over or whatever. And I ordered it. This is when I was in between with sponsors and stuff.
Yeah.
I had left Team Harvest. I ordered this bow, talked to the guy on the phone, give him my information, order the bow. The bow shows up 6-7 days, whatever later. Well, then a week goes by and Kristen's like, that money never come out of our checking account. I was like, oh, well, So I called the guy like 2 weeks into it. I was like, well, it probably happened, whatever. 2 weeks into it, I called the guy. I was like, did you get your money for that bow? I'm the guy from Illinois that bought that Inspire, Strother, whatever. He goes, yeah, I got the money. You wouldn't have got the bow. I was like, oh. I was like, well, it never has come out of our checking account. He goes, you know how stuff like it is. Sometimes when you do money transfers, it takes so long. And the bank's like, well, keep an eye on it. About 30 days in, the bank's like, forget it. We don't know how you got it or where the money went or how the person got their money. I was like,
time for a new bank.
I was like, well, can we can it be?
Uh,
Can anybody figure out? Because I hate it if it come out of somebody else's account. And there's no way. Don't worry about it. So I was like, I tried to buy one and couldn't buy it, and I gave it away.
Yep. That's awesome.
I gave it away to the neighbor.
So some of those hunts, I'd like to talk about your caribou hunt, because I've told people about you driving up there and how far was that?
It took 3 days of driving to get there.
I remember
So-
you saying you thought you had reached the end, and the guy was like, all right, let's go. And then
Yeah,
you got on a
so-
gravel road and drove for like 20 hours or something.
Yeah, so we went through Detroit, crossed there at Toronto, the border, and got over to Quebec, and then we went north to St. James Bay, which is not too far south of where you start getting into the tundra area. And I do remember we had hotels booked along the way where we had like 5-hour sleeps between drives. So we would drive nonstop for a day, sleep 5 hours, drive nonstop, sleep 5 hours. On the last day, we came to a gate, like a toll gate, and we had to go in and fill out paperwork in this little toll booth because they had to monitor who crossed this line, because there was absolutely nothing beyond this line.
Yeah.
So we had to
So if you never come back, yeah.
they have record that you
Right.
went in, and you had to sign out when you came out, so they had record of you leaving. We also carried 25 gallons of gas in red cans with us because there was only one gas stop on the gravel road. And I think even though the road was like, I want to say it was 300 and some miles up this gravel road, and it was basically, there were power plants up there along a lot of these waterways.
Huh.
And so trucks were going back. There was also an airport up there because the workers would work a month at a time. So they would fly in to work the power plant and fly out. But we got up there, we drove all the way up to our camp. The camp was an old construction camp, and they sold it to these guys for $1 instead of trying to move all this stuff once they got done with the
That's
build.
interesting.
And they turned it into a caribou hunting lodge, which had multiple trailers. We had washer and dryer. We had
No kidding.
bunks, and
I
there
didn't
was a
realize all that.
cafeteria. They had a machine shop for like mechanic and stuff on site. But
Were there a lot of people up there hunting?
I think there's probably, I would say, about 100 guys maybe
No.
that were
Just-
in that camp.
Okay.
And then now you can't caribou hunting there anymore. I think there's an agreement with the indigenous people there, and it ended in 2019 or something. So we were fortunate to get in there. And the only thing you could hunt were the caribou because they were migrating through the area. So the rest of the land and all the animals were protected by the indigenous people.
I've
there.
heard
So-
that the caribou migrating paths have really moved a bunch from what they used to be too. So
Yeah, we went late season, so it was November. So the high during the day was 3 to 5 degrees.
3 to 5.
The lows was in the negative 20 but there's no humidity. It was really odd. You had to be careful because you would think you're hot when you'd try to unzip and stuff, but it was just so cold. So, but Rick and I went
Rick,
together.
I was trying to think the whole time. I didn't want to interrupt. I was like, someone went
Gator
with you.
Lee.
Someone
Rick-
went with you. Gator.
Rick went with
Yeah.
me. Awesomeness and attractiveness. That was our our logo.
Awesomeness and
man, that's
attractiveness.
hilarious.
But we were able to kill a caribou over there.
Wonder if I can tag him in
Best
this,
meat.
because it would be good for him to listen to this.
Yeah.
Rick Lee, there you go. I'm gonna tag you, buddy. I hope you check in.
So there's one I forgot, and I hadn't forgot Rick, but he would be a Team Harvest contact.
Rick
Yes.
was, man.
That
Rick
came
was a blast.
through Bart,
Yes.
Yeah.
and we so
he was from
enjoyed-
Maryland,
We had
right?
such a good time with
Oh
Rick.
man. And I don't know how did Bart call him Gator? Like, where did
Bart
that come
called
in?
him Gator because he said he had short little arms. He looked
Yeah.
like an alligator.
Yeah.
Man, Bart.
He said he's like,
And Rick killed an
Gator-
He
alligator.
Gator-
called you crackhead and called
Gator,
him.
he called me crackhead. Yeah, I
Oh,
don't know why. I think
golly.
something about my big blue eyes. He said I look like I was on crack all the time.
Rick and I took a couple of trips. We went turkey hunting in Kentucky and stayed at Greg Gooden's, and Rick killed a
Ah.
bearded hen on that trip. We all tagged
Yeah.
out on that one.
Hmm.
Clifford was involved in that one, and he
Clifford
kept locking
Martin.
his keys in his truck, and we'd have to pry the back window out for him to crawl in to get in his truck.
Rick remember he gave me the large buck McKenzie target. He's like, you want one of them targets? I'll get you one of them targets. And it showed up at my house. A
That-
McKenzie large buck target. I
Rick
shot it
Lee
in two.
was a giver.
He was a
Yeah,
giver.
yeah.
I shot that thing in two.
He stayed at my house for like, I don't know. Him and Bart stayed for like 5 days. And he's like, I noticed you don't have a freezer. I was like, well, I got a freezer. It's, my fridge.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, you need a freezer.
A deep freeze.
I was
Yeah.
like, well, maybe one of these days I'll get one. He's like, yeah, maybe one of these days. And then a freezer shows up.
Yeah. I
I was
thought he
like-
was, I thought he was like joking. And I think it's because we were getting ready. Bart talked us in to go shoot the ASA tournament.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, we probably would do that. It'd be fun. He's like, yeah, you guys go down there and shoot the Hunter or the Navas or something. I'll be there. And Rick's like, you guys need to practice shooting McKenzie targets. I think they were all McKenzie's back then.
Yeah.
I don't know if they still are or
I think so.
are they?
Yeah.
And he's like, I was like, well, I don't have a McKenzie target to practice on. He's like, you need a McKenzie target. It was basically the same thing. And it was like one day Kristen's like, what's this huge box that was shipped to our house? And it was the large buck McKenzie.
Man.
And
Givers.
I shot that thing in two, man.
I think it's safe to say that we came across the path of a lot of people that were willing to give into what we were doing.
They helped us out.
Yeah.
And you remember how much we laughed
So much.
at
I'm not sure
Rick
where you're talking at.
when
but-
we video there. What was the video that we laughed so much when he rocked his head back? And Rick, if you watch this, it's because we so love you. We enjoyed when you edited that. And then I
His
think
facial expressions.
his facial expressions, but that one time in an interview, he rocked his head back to look at the cameraman, and his equilibrium said he was still falling.
And he goes, whoa.
Do you remember? He goes, because he thought he was falling out backwards.
I remember I videoed him shooting that one deer, and he said the one in the front,
Yeah. The one in the
Yeah.
front. We had the big
And
argument.
I
Which
thought
one's the one? in
the one that
front?
was closest to us, and he meant the one that was leading.
He goes, "How in the world can you get that wrong? It's the one in the front." And you, you were like,
I was
"Well,
like,
the one in
yeah,
the
the
front,
closest
the
one."
closest one," because he shot and we didn't get it on video. Did
No.
we? But was it just a doe?
It was
maybe?
a doe.
Shouldn't say just a doe. It was a
Yeah.
doe, but
It was
but
the one in the
didn't
front.
Richard videoed him killing a nice deer with muzzleloader?
I
didn't
think
he?
so.
Down there in Pond Creek.
Yeah.
Down in Pond Creek.
Uh,
But it was so foggy you couldn't see the deer. It was like in the video you couldn't see the deer, but
I'm gonna have to go back and watch some of those.
so Gator, well, with Team Harvest, so this is how we all came together. I mean, we all knew each other to some degree. I guess I knew Craig, but I didn't know you well.
Yeah, I was way older than you.
I knew Craig from the rockin' days.
Yeah,
whenever
that's
you-
what I said earlier.
Yeah,
I said I
was-
knew Craig as the musician, cross-eyed,
I
and all
think
that stuff.
The
Playing,
first time I met or even knew you guys existed was at church camp at Johnsonville, I think.
but we
we played.
we played a
at-
gig at
yeah,
Church
we
of the
played
Harvest.
at Church of the Harvest with you guys on a trailer. You
I
remember
was
that?
the-
Oh,
I
you
was
were
the
involved in
front
that?
man.
Oh.
It's almost as bad as the first.
sometimes when you experience trauma, you block it out of your memory.
I
Wes,
remember Bobby was playing the cow drums. Yeah.
Yeah, Wes was our
Bass player.
Wes played bass.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I remember. that.
Josh Shell
Made it
played,
out of bamboo.
this is that was pre-bamboo, way pre-bamboo. Josh
Oh,
Shell played
God.
guitar. Your brother Zach played drums.
Yeah.
What didn't one of the other guys play guitar with us.
Josh Orr.
But I don't think he did on that deal. I don't think he came on until
He
after.
might not have.
And I sang.
You're just a man of many talents.
You know that's right.
Oh man.
I had a pair of jeans
That
with
is
the
funny.
stripe down the side, looking all cool.
Ah,
Oh, I do remember that. That's
Yeah.
funny, man.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because we were like, we got a gig, you know, it's at Church of the Harvest at one of their. And remember, it was like 105 in the shade,
Yeah.
and I felt so bad. And I
Oh.
don't know if I ever told you this, how bad I felt about that deal, because people showed up and we were opening for you.
that's why you felt bad.
No,
Oh.
no, this is why I felt bad, because people showed up and we opened for you, played our 3 or 4 songs is all we had.
Yeah. I
And
think
there
one
was a-
of them was a Pearl Jam cover.
And- not yet. Pearl Jam came. That's when we got a little more advanced. But
Oh,
we
man.
opened for, was you cross? You had a name before that though, Cross Eyed.
5 Smooth Stones.
5 Smooth
Oh,
Stones.
yeah.
I think that's when you were still 5 Smooth Stones.
Yeah.
And we were nothing because we couldn't settle. So we just showed up.
Oh.
And we opened for you. It was so hot. There was quite a few people there, but it was so hot that people started leaving. And the headliner band, I was like, oh man, that's horrible. They should have a
Yeah.
bigger audience than we have. But I think maybe we had a few more people just because of the heat.
Yeah.
We'll let you think it was because of the heat.
Or maybe we ran them off.
Yeah, I mean,
maybe
I don't
we
know.
ran them
I
off.
was like, golly, these guys suck. Oh man, that's awesome.
So that was before Team Harvest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we really got to know each other when we started going to shows and sitting in deer stands together. And
You start sleeping in creepy little cabins together, it bonds you real quick.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I hate to quote a song from a band, but sleep with one
Oh.
eye open. But yeah, we went down there and stayed in a creepy cabin with guys we didn't know. But you get to know each other. I got to
Mm.
know that you guys got to know that I'll go up any tree and hang off to the side. I remember one of the first or second times being in a climb and staying with, we weren't in the same climber, but in the same tree with climbing stands. And I climbed way up and there was a tree limb. I took my top, I undid it and went around the tree limb. And
I
then
was like, no way.
you got up there to me. I remember you got up there to me and you looked at me. You was like, there's a tree limb and my climber's above it, the top section. And you were like, how did you do that? Because you were climbing. I was like, I just unhooked my top and went around it. You're like, no,
No.
we ain't doing.
We were in a stand that you hung once. I remember this, and the platform was at a 45-degree angle, and I was literally had my bow in one hand and my arm completely around the tree. There was no way I was going to be able to draw the bow. I think that's one of those trees where you just jumped out of and grabbed the little sapling next to it
and
then
rode it down.
Rode it down. And
I was
like,
notorious for that back then.
yeah.
I like to set up stands next to a hickory sapling because that's the fastest way down, other than actually falling.
Oh man.
Those were good times. Good
Or
times.
Wes running in a ghillie suit across an open field after turkeys. Now that's a sight to see
Yeah.
too.
You kept wanting me to use that footage, and I was like, no.
Look like Sasquatch right across there.
What were you trying to do, bust them?
I was trying to slip up on them. Yeah.
Man.
You know,
So how many?
I'm a slippery guy.
At the end of the day, how many
Oh.
DVDs did we make? We made
4.
We made 4 DVDs.
One season on TV.
and then we did. Was
How
it
many
the Pursuit?
thousands did we order?
Was it the Pursuit channel?
Mm-hmm. I don't know, because we bought several runs of some of the first
Yeah.
ones.
I want to say number 2, we either did 3 or 4 runs of. So
Yeah, because
And we sold most of them.
we
Didn't
sold all of them, man.
Yeah.
We like,
I
how
have
many
a
do you
few
have left?
cases at home that are
Yeah.
in the barn, but heck, I ought to bring them over here. You can hand them out to all the people
You know,
getting the free bows.
I'm almost sure I've not seen all of them. I've not even watched them.
The fourth one, I don't think you watched.
I've
did
not.
you?
I don't know that I've seen the third one. I've seen the orange cover and the
That's the
righty.
first
Is the
one.
righty when you killed righty the
That was
second one?
number
Second
2.
one.
Yeah.
I think that's the only ones I've ever seen. I may not even been part of the fourth one though.
No, he was.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think the third one you killed the zombie deer.
Oh, the
Remember
zombie deer
The one
With
that
with
was
Corey.
yeah, off the ground.
Yeah.
Is that the
Yeah.
third one?
I think so.
Yeah, I think it was.
I don't think I've seen that DVD.
Yeah.
Well,
was
I've
good.
probably seen that.
It was
hunt.
awesome.
It was good.
I could
Apparently
hook
sold
you
them
up.
all.
I could hook you up for about 20
I think
bucks.
I've seen
Uh,
like some editing work on like that particular hunt. He was like, "Hey, here's your zombie buck."
We've had several guys from Team Harvest tune in this evening.
That's awesome.
Matt Griswold says we need to do a Team Harvest watch party. So we ought to do it.
How
That'd be
long would
hilarious.
how long would it take
Uh.
if we had a bunch of them in this room and we sat and scrolled through and watched some of them
The
on a
DVDs.
podcast?
Oh,
Holy cow! The DVDs
It'd
are
take you
about 2
almost 8
hours.
hours.
apiece for sure.
Yeah.
8-hour podcast watch party.
Never
Matt,
happened.
Well,
speaking,
Go ahead.
I was going to say, Matt, speaking up, on the way over here, I was thinking, about, all right, what is he going to ask? What's the topic going to be? And I got to thinking, there are at least 5 that I can think of, members that are either pastoring a church now or doing some kind of ministry
Yeah.
work. And it's just that, all of the free stuff and the videos and stuff. And then I get back and really what kind of impact will we be able to see that we had
Yeah.
through that ministry when the curtains pulled back? And
I think that's true.
I mean, that one year, because we did a lot of wild game dinners,
Right,
and
right.
and I kind of kept track that one year, and we had over 130 people that give their life to the Lord
Yeah.
in that one year, and we're talking 10 to 12 wild game dinners. So
Yeah.
um,
Well, you
That's
remember
what it was
Matt's
about.
on here. We went to Chicago and did one,
Oh, yeah.
and Matt spoke at it.
That was the one where they had tons of stuff, wasn't
It
it?
was a big one.
Man, it was like
It
they
may
had
have became. It may have been
tail
through
and
Matt could tell us. It may have been through a contact of Matt's.
Yeah.
Because Matt spoke. Was you at that one? It seems like you
Sure.
were not. It seems like it was just us 3.
Plainfield. Matt just said
Plainfield.
Plainfield, Illinois.
But I remember, and Matt may have a number in his head, but I remember when he put the invitation out at the end of that, it was there was probably 20 or 30 guys
Yeah.
raised their hand and prayed with him.
Yeah.
The salvation prayer to receive Jesus. I was like, I remember sitting back watching. I was like, that is phenomenal. We had great prayer.
One by one they came.
Remember, I don't know if Matt remembers
Uh.
this. Me, you, and Matt somewhere, some guys get game room. Remember being in that game room? He had like a 14-pound bass and a bunch of game.
I don't remember
And we
that.
prayed. It
Oh,
was like
that kind of game room. I was thinking you guys are playing poker or
no,
something.
no. No, like a trophy room.
Trophy room.
Trophy
Okay.
room. I'm sorry, with game in it. But
Oh man.
we prayed because we were getting ready to go to that game dinner, and we was gonna speak. And seems like one of us,
He
Matt, help
keeps
us.
chiming in. I love it.
That's where
Uh,
I introduced Matt to Deluge, the band Deluge with Jonathan Stockstill. He still brings that up. We were on that trip, weren't we, Matt? I was like, we were listening because we had a 4-hour drive up there.
Yeah.
We drove Matt's truck, and I remember being like, this is the most uncomfortable back seat in a pickup truck I've ever been in my life. I remember on the way home. But anyhow, yeah. Whose house was we at, Matt? Do you remember that? We were in a trophy room, somebody's trophy room. They had huge bass, and deer and different things.
It's probably Bill Dance.
No, it wasn't Bill Dance. I would remember that.
Bill Dance loved Jesus.
But anyhow, seems like it was the guy. I can almost picture his face, big guy. You don't remember having that prayer time? We prayed, me, you, and Matt prayed for the service. And then I was like, man, I was flabbergasted. I shouldn't have been, but I was when like 30 or better guys
Yeah, it was awesome.
raised their hands and prayed that with Matt. That was amazing.
That was a huge group there too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was a big crowd. I mean, it was
I bet
like,
there were 250 guys
yeah,
there.
at least.
Yeah.
It was a big game dinner, but pretty awesome. But that goes with what you're saying. That's things you get lost and you don't think about.
Yep.
I remember an individual coming to us and said, I turned around in the deer stand, got on my knees on my platform in the deer stand and asked Jesus into my heart. I don't know if you remember that testimony.
I don't.
If I said the name, I'm not going to say it here, but you would remember it. You would remember it. Well, I'll tell you after.
I don't know if you remember, we got a message from a couple that watching our DVDs at home, because I think we offered and prayed with people
Yeah.
at the end of the DVD,
Yeah.
and they accepted Christ through watching the DVDs, and
It's amazing.
it is.
It really is.
You remember when we got a call? Listen to this one. You called me or told me about it. I don't know if they'd let you know or you know, but a tattoo artist give his heart to the Lord. He's like, hey, free Team Harvest tattoos to the whole group. Do you remember that?
I don't remember it, but
Do you remember it?
I do remember it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we didn't get them. Apparently,
Yeah.
Craig got one. but-
regrets.
No, but remember
Oh,
whatever
man.
our logo was at the time,
Yeah.
he was serious.
Yeah.
He'd given his heart to the Lord, and he was a tattoo artist, and he's like, man, I'll give you all the Team Harvest logo tattooed for free. I don't know if any of us took us up. It was like, well, thank you.
I've got
That's
a Team
nice-
Harvest mural on my back.
all the guys and all the
Yeah.
covers. And
I've got Drew Brandt giving a thumbs up on my back.
who was Drew Brandt? Was that the
Oh, Drew was awesome, man. Yeah. That was towards the end whenever you were on your way. Yeah.
Okay.
Jamie Loker was in there.
Yeah.
So,
So I was kind of out of it
yeah.
there, wasn't I? I stepped away.
Nate Burgess.
Yeah.
Who all are we?
All my kids were so little. It was such a tough time for me.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Not that having little kids is a tough time, but it was a tough time to be away from
It's
from
challenging.
home, and
You know?
because we would, man, I mean, we put a lot of hours in the tree
Yeah.
because we were just like, we got to get the footage, and then
Man, I put hours and hours
Editing.
in editing
Editing,
with
yeah.
Craig.
yeah, and
Like
then
we would go over
season,
there and just sit and watch.
and then season would go out, and we would run to as many
Yeah.
whitetail and
Shows.
turkey classics and stuff like and
Game
shows.
dinners. and-
Yeah.
And that's where we met Alex Rutledge too.
Yeah. See, I missed
Yeah.
out on some of those. I
Yeah,
went
my
to
dad
several.
was on that trip
I'll see if I can.
With Alex.
with Alex, and me and Wes and Dad drove to Minnesota to
Yeah.
that show.
See if I can
Yep.
get
And I
Alex to
remember
tune in here.
my dad was so after we got back, he never said anything in the back seat,
Yeah.
but it was snowing so hard you could barely see the car in front of you, and I was following a semi so that I could just follow the lights.
Right.
And we were watching videos on his laptop or something while I was driving, and my dad said his knuckles were so white. He just because we were pulling a trailer. I mean,
Yeah.
it wasn't.
Remember, I built that booth that it took 3 men, 4 small farm animals,
Oh, golly.
and a great grandpa. To
It was
put
beautiful,
it up, and
though.
it was so
Had
heavy.
actual trees in it.
Yeah.
3 trees.
One thing I never thought of that we should have done was take pictures of all this stuff. I don't really have any pictures of the
Oh,
booths.
You don't
or-
have the booth anymore.
no.
I
made
used it for
furniture.
firewood.
I think the top.
We're
piece-
taking this too far here, guys.
that archway.
Oh.
That archway. I walked for like 2 or 3 hours. I walked the woods because you were like you wanted 2 trees, and then you was like I visualize a tree that's bent in an arc over.
And we
I
put
walked
the
for like-
TV up on that thing. That
Yeah.
I
was
walked for
awesome,
like
man.
2 or 3 hours looking for a
Oh.
tree. I was like, that's the one.
And we hung
You know.
stands on it to
Which
as our
happened,
shelves.
yeah, which happened to be an ash tree, which is a shame because now they're all dead and gone because of the emerald. Yeah, not me, the emerald ash borer beetle.
Oh man, I'm telling you, Matt,
Randy Kitts,
Yeah.
Hmm.
Kitts. Matt's putting his name out there. That's when we met him, which is now an owner of Darton, Conquest, and what else?
golly,
That's it.
Black Eagle.
Black Eagle.
Yeah,
Yeah, I never fails to forget that he was the one person that I slept in on. Bart and him were going to hunt in one of my stands. And I was like, they's like, we'll be there at 4. I was like, oh, I'll be waiting. Yeah, I'll just walk into it, and then I'll go to wherever I'm going to hunt. And I wake up like at 4:30. Someone knocking on my window. It's like the one time I sleep in is when Bart and Randy come, you know.
Oh, man. It's been
And
good.
that's the only episode of the TV show I have is when Randy went to
The bear
Wyoming,
hunting.
the turkey hunt with the little girl that
See,
won
he
the NWTF.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Um,
I forgot about that. Yeah, he
That's-
went out there and did that hunt with her.
yeah,
Yeah.
and
I forgot Jason Wheeler as well was in there.
yeah,
I
Jason
think-
Wheeler killed a
monster.
190 some inch
Yeah.
whitetail. Filmed himself.
Jason Mason was part of it. For
Jason.
Like
I
I said,
think.
there's-
See, I think that's when maybe I was phasing out.
Yeah.
So I wasn't around those guys as much.
Yeah, towards the end,
Mike
we
McLaren?
started expanding. Mike McLaren.
Yeah.
Man, tag Mike in this. Because I'm telling you, there's a lot of guys that I feel like would, like to chime in and hear what is said. So, Mike
I
McLaren.
remember walking. Was it? We were at an expo.
Cassie's making fun of us, saying that we're having flashbacks. Uh,
It is fun to remember because I remember walking across the parking lot, like our 3rd year in. Like now we've got notoriety. People know us. People's got our DVDs. And I was walking across the parking lot. I think me and you or some
John A. Logan.
maybe, and someone starts hollering
Yeah.
my name, Nathan. I was like, who's hollering my name? And it's like a guy and a kid, and they wanted my autograph. And I was like, dude, you don't want my autograph. He's like, yeah, no, we love your DVDs. We've got the first 2 seasons. We're here to try to get the 3rd
was
one.
that Mike McLaren? It might have been.
I can't remember.
I'm
I don't
telling
remember
you,
who it was, but I
Mike
remember.
was all about hanging out
Yeah.
with us right off the bat.
Yeah, but they were like wanting my autograph.
I'm
And-
telling you, Mike McLaren is a good dude.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Jeremy Witter,
Jeremy
Was
Witter
in
was
there.
a
Jeremy
part.
was
Joey Slover was in there.
Joey Slover was a part. God bless y'all. Yeah.
we
Tom.
Tom
Tom,
Greathouse.
the
Chris
Greathouse.
Greathouse. Yeah. Man.
Let it ring. Man, I had some good times sitting in the back of the Dodge, your Dodge, riding to shows, talking to Tom.
Yes.
Yeah.
What a wonderful person to sit and talk to.
Yeah.
Well,
His
he
greatest
was our
line.
he was our narrator for
Yes,
some of
yeah,
those.
He
and
was.
he was a good DVD seller because he's like, nothing says I love you more. The guy walked by with this lady come up. It was Valentine's weekend. We were in
Oh.
Indianapolis, and he goes, "Hey, nothing says I love you more than buying your girl a DVD." And the guy goes, "This is my daughter." And Tom looks at him and goes, "Well, I love my daughter, don't you?" We didn't get the sell, but
Oh.
He
I
did
remember
do,
there
he
towards
did,
the
good-
end.
Did do good in the booths. Yeah.
yeah.
Man, some of your selling techniques were awesome. I remember you having a DVD. Hey, need a DVD? And somebody goes, no. And you was like, how about a coaster?
How about a
Oh, man.
How about something like I think you even throwed like, do you shoot
Oh.
skeet? Something like that.
Oh,
And I was somewhere because then we went into TV and it was what was it? It was the Harvesters Guild.
yep.
Is that the name of the TV show?
Yep. The Harvesters Guild.
The Harvesters Guild. And I can remember I had a poster board with the Harvesters Guild on it. And I felt like that person that stands outside of a restaurant.
Like a sandwich board.
Yeah. And you're like, someone needs to hold this and get people's attention. I just stood by our booth. I just stood by our booth with like this big nice poster board. It was more than a poster board. It was like actual
Yeah.
plasticky cardboard. I can remember
It's in
holding
my building right now.
it. Is it?
Yeah.
And I remember people walking by and I could hear them like 10 yards away. They was like, did that say the Harvesters Guild? What's the Harvesters Guild? And I was like,
Well, some of those selling tactics were really not to try to sell anything. It was just entertainment to see if you guys would do what I asked you to do.
yeah.
So it was kind of most of the
Oh.
time people would just do it.
Remember, it was Luke 10:22.
Yep.
Was that
No,
the
10-2.
10-2.
10-2,
Sorry,
yeah.
10-2. I remember like the first show, one of the first shows we did. It was like, we all need to memorize Luke 10-2. because it was
that was
on
the
our
first thing they asked
people
you.
walk up and
What's
it's like,
Luke 10-2?
what's Luke 10-2? And we'd be like,
It's a Bible verse.
Behold
Yeah.
the fields are white under harvest.
yeah. And you know, we knew it, but you couldn't quote it clean.
It
and
catch you off
It
guard.
caught you off guard
Yeah.
and put you on the spot. And I was like, okay, we all need to go to the hotel room tonight and make sure we memorize Luke 10-2, because if we're going to broadcast that all over everything as one of our logos,
Every one of our
and-
shirts had it on it.
I've still got a Luke
Oh.
10-2 black beanie
Yep.
that has the 3 little crosses on it. Merch.
It's what was great about Wes
Uh.
and his, being an entrepreneur. Like, I remember going to shows. We started off with sell DVDs, and we had hats, and then we had shirts, and then he comes up with the idea: we need an arrow saw, and we can sell arrows at our booth. Do you remember
And
that?
cut them for
We-
people.
Dude, yeah.
We
were
had a
just
community arrow. Who ended up with it?
It's at Doug's.
Doug's got
Doug
it?
has it.
Well,
Yeah.
how does everything end up at Doug's?
He's a catch-all.
we sold fresh urine.
We did.
I still
Yeah.
have the refrigerator sitting in the corner with the Team Harvest logo on the front.
We had Brush Creek Scents, didn't we?
Yeah.
Was there anything else?
We were a bow shop before we were a bow shop.
See?
Yeah, we were.
Yeah.
It was, and it all led to this.
Mike McLaren's watching. Matt Griswold, Nate's been on. That's
That's
awesome. We're glad you guys tuned in. Tuned in for a great guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, Lathan.
No.
I meant me.
So it all started though with Richard Hipper
Yep.
and Craig, which is with us, Wes, and then myself.
Yeah. And Craig with his duffel or suitcase or
Briefcase.
Briefcase,
at
yeah.
Pizza Hut.
at
Yeah.
Pizza Hut.
We had pizza,
Yeah.
didn't we? I remember having pizza. I do remember it now.
Yeah.
I
felt like that.
remember you already had a Canon GL or something at the time. You're like, oh,
Mm,
Yeah. Canon GL2.
two.
mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't come on now.
Yeah.
I didn't
And
run that GL.
Craig was like, well, we're going to accept you into Team Harvest. 'cause
You've got a camera.
Oh, and then there was always the tapes because everything was still on tape. So it's
Yeah.
like, you got any tapes? I don't know. Yeah,
Yeah.
somebody needs to go get some
Dude,
tapes.
How much
I've
tape
got-
you got left? Yeah.
I've got so many tapes in my basement. Like,
that are filmed.
oh yeah.
So I've got a ton too.
Do you?
I don't
I
know what
think
we
How
could
do we
do.
digitize all those? And
Man, it'd be tough. I'm sure somebody could do it, but
because there's probably
I
some,
think I've
there's
got-
probably some gold in there
Oh, I'm sure.
and
there
all
is.
those hours and hours and
Mm.
hours of footage, but you would have to sit down and just scroll and roll through it to find it. But there's interviews and there's jokes and there's happenings in there that never make, you know,
Yeah.
because it say you got you edited, so you
Oh.
know, if you got a 2-hour video DVD, which they were close to 2, weren't they? Hour,
Mhm.
dude, I remember that one. We went through like 100 hours of footage to make 2 hours.
Yeah. Just think of all the stuff in there. Cause I can
I
remember me and
remember-
you laughing at times till trail mix was coming out of our nose and,
That
and
was
stuff like that. And some of
I
Richard's,
thought I was gonna die.
some of Richard's interviews
Yeah.
were classic interviews that never made because you would be like, all right, Richard, we need to do it again. This is take 6, you know, and you forgot to tell the people where we're at in the world or whatever. And he would get halfway through when I'd be with him, his interview, and he'd be like, no, he'd just have to stop and start over, you know. But
Oh, I love the story you tell about him shooting righty and him asking, how close is he?
yeah,
How far is he? Like,
yeah, we were hunting that deer with the drop tine, which is hanging right here.
yeah.
Wes got him that year finally, but Richard had a marvelous opportunity before that to get him. And I was filming for Richard right before dark, still shooting light, but it's, you know, that golden moment of
Yeah.
a deer hunt. And I look towards what would be the north and I see a doe and a buck coming, and it's like the first glance I see that drop tine stuck out there, and I was like, well, there he is. He's going to come right through here. So I was like, Richard, here he comes, righty. Remember, we had righty, we had whitey, we had it's like all of our deer had the rhyme that year for whatever reason, and we're trying to kill them all out of the same woods, you know. But anyhow, the deer's coming, and it's not going to be a chip shot like a 15 or 20, but it almost is a chip shot, just a little past 20. Is what I thought it was in the neighborhood. It was looking like it's going to be. So the window's coming, and Richard's like, how far is he, Layton? And that's the sound I made. Nothing. I was like, I'm not answering him. This is pre rangefinder days.
Yeah.
There's probably people with rangefinders, but none of us had them at that time. He's like, how far, Lathan? How far is he going to be? Lathan, how far is he? Quiet. I was just crickets. And I think I was just like, I can't answer him because I think I know how far in the neighborhood, but if I tell him and it's wrong and he misses, then it's my fault, you know,
Yeah.
or partly my fault. So I was just, man, crickets. I wouldn't answer him. I just video. He's like, how far? He's drawing his bow going like, how far is it going to be? And I would have guessed him for about 26, you know, and he guessed it for 40.
Oh, man.
It just, you know how you do in a panic.
Yeah.
You know, he knows he's got 5 yards to shoot this deer in when he steps into that 5 yards, and that's 3.5 steps for a deer to be through that. So he knows he's got that window and he's in panic mode. I might have made it worse by not answering because he's like, now he's not thinking about how far it is. He's hoping I'll answer him.
Yeah.
And he shot over his back.
You definitely made it worse if you knew he was about 26.
He ended up being about 27, 28, maybe 20, maybe 30. He was in that 26 to 30 yard.
I'm glad you didn't answer him.
Because what? 2 weeks later?
Yeah, 2 weeks later, I got a shot at him.
You got him.
Yeah.
Same
Thanksgiving
tree.
Day.
Yeah.
Exact same tree.
Yes.
Exact same tree. He come by from the same direction.
Yeah.
Because he come from the north, didn't he?
He came, and you could tell he was like,
he knew that something had happened prior.
Yeah, I always thought that was a miracle in itself that we made 4 movies that were 2 hours long, and the majority of the hunts come from like a 40-acre patch. That's it.
2 trees
where there was no
2 hours of film.
There was no deer management. There were no food plots. There was really other than the lawnmower food plot. I remember that story.
We talked about that the other day.
But to be blessed to be able to put together those videos
it was a sweet time.
Yeah.
It was a sweet time. I like the hunting in that time better almost than I do today because of the way things have turned.
Yeah.
And it's, you know, gosh, some of those deer we killed were 125, 135 deer. And I mean, we were just tickled.
We were elated to kill,
you know.
Yeah.
And people watched it and loved it.
Yeah.
And you know, it's another conversation we don't want to get into tonight, but
at the time though, there was we didn't really have people that came up and was like, why did you shoot that?
No, there wasn't.
It was more like, man, that was awesome. We really enjoyed that.
And the does, they would comment on how much they appreciated the shot does.
Because we'd shoot 2 does for
Yeah.
every buck we killed, probably on video.
Yeah, I bet every video probably had 5 or 6 does at least on it.
Yeah.
So
good time.
Mike McLaren says he needs a copy of number 4. So Mike, we'll make sure you get one of those.
I need to watch it. I may have watched it and don't realize it, but boy, I don't remember nothing about 3 and 4.
Yeah.
Well, you can't watch 3 without watching 2. Every one of them had a different theme. I thought that was kind of cool.
Yeah.
We didn't mention Corey Musgrave.
Yeah.
Corey videoed that zombie buck I killed.
He was in it.
Yeah.
Good
Man,
stuff.
you start naming those names and I think of stories. I went with Corey one evening and videoed for him. And we put up stands on the fly. I was a hang and hunt guy sometimes way before hang and hunt was well, not that it wasn't a thing, but before it was
climb and hunt.
Yeah. You know, we went into a place that we knew we couldn't climb, place he hunted. He said, there's no trees to climb there. I said, well, let's just take our bases off of our climbers. I was like, I can get in those trees and we'll hang it up there somewhere.
You guys keep talking. I'll be right back.
I hung up I hung up 2 stands in this fence row, and we got in and I was filming for them. I think we saw deer, but we didn't necessarily do any good. And then it got dark 30, time to get down, and Corey can't get down. And it's probably because of one of my cockamamie sets that I'd done. And it gets all the way down. I don't know if Corey remembers this, if he ever listens to this, but it gets all the way down. He is, I don't know how this happens. He's hanging from the bars of the base of the climber that he was sitting in. Like hanging,
And that's it.
just hanging there by his hands. Like, he's like, I don't have nowhere to put my feet. I don't have nowhere to put my feet. And I'm above him, like, there's a tree limb or something there. That's how we got up here. He's like, I can't find it. It was dark. I can't find it. He's like, I'm just going to drop. I was like, Corey, don't do that. We're 15 foot up in there. You're going to break your ankle or something. So I think I climbed down and got on the backside of the tree and like physically put his feet on. It's like he could not find that. Either put in a step back in the screw-in step days, or there was a
It's
tree.
probably just an 8-inch nail. Knowing you,
Yeah. But he
This
was
is a little something to
he
put
was
toe on.
swinging. He was swinging, just hanging from the bottom of the platform. And he's like, I can't do it. No, I can't hang much longer. I'm just going to drop. And I was like, if you drop from 15 foot, you'll probably break your ankle or something, or
Dude,
leg.
yeah.
Oh, Corey.
Good times,
Man,
man.
Corey used to paint his face, man.
Jamie Loker painted his face up crazy.
Like
Mm.
Jamie would do designs and
Yeah,
lines. Like
Jamie did like 3 crosses on his face.
Corey got out of the truck one time and walked over to my truck, and I mean, there was not a. It was.
You're not supposed to do that.
Yeah,
Corey.
it wasn't popular in today's culture. What he had going on there.
Oh man.
All I could see was the whites of his eyes.
So let me ask you this, Craig. You kind of went on a hiatus hunting wise for a while, didn't you?
I didn't want anything to do with it.
Tell us about that.
I think I was just burnt out, but
Were you burning out by hunting or by the industry or what?
I don't know. You guys could probably attest to this, that hunting, when I always enjoyed hunting, was really bad at it, but I enjoy it. And then it became a job.
Yeah.
And it was like, all right, you're working Monday through Friday, but no matter what Saturday morning is like, you're going to have to get up at 3, drive to Fairfield or wherever,
Yeah.
and get in a tree. And it could be pouring down rain. We sat through snow. We've sat through,
We did.
and it's like, I think Lathan said earlier, it's like, you got to get the footage. It's constantly trying to get something on tape, and you can't get it on tape if you're at home, So I think after all of that, and then when the season was over, weekends, and just to kind of give an idea of what a weekend might look like, I remember doing a wild game show. Yeah, I guess it was a wild game and a show in Pennsylvania. We were somewhere near Puxatawny. So I worked Friday, picked up Tom after work, had my suitcase, drove to St. Louis, took a plane from St. Louis to Chicago, flew from Chicago to Pittsburgh, rented a car, drove to this place. We got there wee hours in the morning, slept till about, I don't know, early morning or mid-morning. And then the banquet thing started in mid-afternoon on Saturday. Got to the place. We spoke, did our thing, turned around, drove the rental car back to the airport, flew to Washington, D.C., because that was the only connecting place we could get a flight back to St.
Golly.
Louis, got home on Sunday, and turned around and got up Monday morning and went to work. And you guys were doing the same thing. We were driving to Wisconsin, to Alabama, to Ohio,
Columbus,
Indianapolis,
St. Louis.
Michigan. I did a show with the Hampton.
Oh
was it,
yeah. Yep. James Hampton.
and
Yeah.
Chad, Wisconsin.
Man, we've met so many
Arkansas.
people along this. It's amazing. Like
So-
we met JD Hewitt along the way.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you were probably just fried. From
Yeah,
all that.
I wasn't. I mean, it didn't speak to me, and then
Yeah.
work has been all encompassing.
Don't you pull all that stuff off before this is all said and done? You're going to be on here.
We
Yeah,
do have a special guest here with us
We
tonight
do.
that could push the podcast over the top.
Oh man.
I remember one time you guys left on a long show or a long trip.
Yeah.
This is such a funny story. There was a church over towards Mount Vernon, Illinois that we did some game dinners at. And you're like, hey, we're going to be at such and such show. And I was like, well, I can't be away, that long. Or, you were going to be back till like Sunday night or something. And I was like, he's like, well, this is good because we have that.
it's
we have
probably
a
the Southern Baptist
Yeah.
Yeah. We'd been there
regional
before.
fellowship. Yeah,
We'd
Yes.
been there before. Like a wild game outdoor thing night they had banquet. And they were going to have, you're like, so can you go speak at that one? We'll go to this one and speak or whatever it was going on. I was like, sure. And I was like early in speaking ministry. I was just tickled. I just wanted to go somewhere and preach and speak, and I was like all tickled and excited to go do it. And I showed up. It's just me all by I mean, there was a bunch of people there, but out of the group, Team Harvest group, it was just me. And we had been there the year before. And
I think
you
I
spoke.
I'd even built you like this build up thing. I had it on a flash drive where they could play it.
Yeah. We had a video to play, like a 2-minute scissor reel type
yeah.
thing. And then I was going to speak, and they never said nothing to me about time. Never said nothing to me about time. So I was like, I told the guys, like, well, I got a video. I was like, a couple minutes. He goes, that'd be fine. He said, you can show it towards the end when you're done speaking, or you can show it later on in the night sometime. I was like, well, maybe we'll do later on in the night or towards the end when I speak. And I got up there, and you know how you do when you're speaking, you got what? You got 2 to 3 minutes of breaking the ice. I'm so-and-so. How's everybody doing? You know that stuff. Good to be here. We're so excited.
Rallying the troops.
We're so, bringing people's minds into one plane to start to hit a topic. And I had a little sermon, not a long sermon, like a 10-minute thing. I think it had to do with my rangefinder, or something like that. How the word of God was like a rangefinder that measures. It's a measuring rod, and had this beautiful little sermon worked up. And I get through my preliminaries of saying, hello, this is who we are, yada, yada, yada. So I'm probably 3 minutes in, and I see that guy that's over it going, he's telling me I've got 5 minutes. And I was like, 5 minutes? I'm 3 or 4 minutes in. It threw me so far off because I was like, I've got to try to get everything.
Did you start over again? My name's Lee.
I'm with a group called Team Harvest.
We make furniture.
I totally listen to this. They probably, you never got asked back.
No.
And it's probably because of this. It threw me off my game so bad. He's like flashing it. Now you got 4. And I'm like, I think I opened my Bible. I think I read my scripture and said the word of God is like a rangefinder. Thank you all. I mean, it was maybe more, but that was about the extent of it. I remember thinking I'm humiliated. And the guy's like, as I'm walking off, he's like, yells across the place, are we showing the video now? And I was like, oh man, just forget it. Just forget
Did they
it.
give the guy starting the fire with sticks longer time than they gave you to speak?
For sure.
Oh.
For sure. They had a guy starting fires. They had a guy
Every year.
Yeah.
That was the big thing.
It's like he's over
Gosh,
trying to
that's
start a
hilarious.
friction fire. I was like, oh my lands. I was so embarrassed, and I could tell that it was like, it was like if we just quit talking and we all sat here in the weirdness for the next 30 seconds. It was just like that. When I was done, it was just like, just nothingness. I was like, what a disaster.
Oh,
What a disaster
That's
that was.
hysterical, man.
They probably felt bad. It's like this guy
Oh.
one day, hopefully somebody would tell him that this is probably not his thing. The speaking part.
The
that is.
speaking,
Yeah. yeah.
So you started hunting again, though, Craig, right?
I have.
What reignited your interest?
Honestly, I think for me, it's the preparation part. I enjoy the hunting. I enjoy sitting out. I don't necessarily shoot anything every year, but there's something about the peacefulness of just sitting out in the woods and
Just the going and
just
doing.
going. But the
Oh, that reminds me of
planting
another
corn
thing.
and the planting the turnips and
Yeah.
all that stuff and figuring out the strategy of how I'm going to go after a certain deer or any deer. I enjoy that. I like bought a tractor and planter and try
Yeah.
to figure things. And I have my own property, so that helps too. So
That does help things. for
and
sure.
you know, I can go couple hundred yards out the back door and be in my stand. So I'm not having to drive.
Yeah.
And so yeah, maybe it's that whole prepper thing because we've kind of turned things. I've got.
Are you a prepper a little bit?
I'm not, but I'm kind of set up that if anything went down, I think I'm in pretty good shape.
Yeah.
I can be a prepper tomorrow. If I need to be. I'm prepping to be a prepper. What's the story you're thinking of?
Well, I got to thinking about Craig and me going elk hunting with Jeff
Oh.
Viner and how, man, I felt so bad for you because you had blisters the size of $50 and
I still have scars on my feet from that. But that experience sure got me understand what to do to go back.
yeah. Well, that experience is when I came back and I told Lathan, we can do that and we don't need a guide.
Yeah.
And so much to the point to where I felt like a guide actually hurt us. And that's no offense to them because, but and if someone's listening, they'd be like, how in the world are you not, offending them by saying that? What the scenario was the guide was restricted based on where he was at, the property that was allotted to him in Colorado. And there was an elk that was talking to us just on the other mountain, and we could not go after that elk because the guide was restricted by where he was at. And I was like,
by yourself, you could have went.
He told us, he's like, if you want to go over there, that's an over-the-counter zone. You can go over there, but I can't take you over there.
Yeah.
And it was like, gosh, we felt like we were literally seeing them over on the other mountain, and they were talking, but we could do nothing about it.
But you didn't go?
Well, at the time, we didn't know how to call.
Right.
I didn't know anything about it. I mean,
Yeah.
not that I know anything
we were
now, but
leaning
I
on
was-
other people's knowledge a lot.
Yeah.
So,
I remember you coming back and was like, dude, we can go do that.
yeah.
And it probably it took us a few years to go ahead and finally do it. And I remember the day, I can't tell you the physical actual date, but I remember riding in the truck and you're like, man, we were talking about elk hunting. It's like a couple years later and we talk about it every year.
Yeah.
And we'd never do it. And finally we just looked at each other as like, okay, that's it. September. We're going elk hunting, whatever it takes, because we can go buy an over-the-counter tag.
Yeah, we were kind of the mindset, even if we mess up, we're okay with it.
Well, we were like, yeah, we got to go to get a clue.
Yeah.
So we, in months prior, got calls and started driving down the road, blowing them and working on them and picking people's brain where to go over the counter, and just went and just almost killed a nice bull.
Yeah.
Wes was in the game for just a little bit there on a big bull.
Yeah.
And then did we skip a year?
We skipped a year
building your house.
Yeah.
But neither one of us wanted to say that we weren't going. I can remember it was like 2 weeks before September. Wes is like, so when are we going elk hunting? I was like, dude, I don't know if we can go. I mean, your wife she'll skin us if we leave for a week and whatever days when she's wanting to get into her house. And we both looked at each other, and we knew what we needed to do was
Yeah.
not to go. So
That's
we
a
didn't
tough
go.
thing when what you want to do and what you need to do don't
You
line
know,
up.
and I have always lived by the standard. People's like, well, you can always hunt next year. Well, maybe not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Things, you know, Jesus come back and this whole thing wraps up and it's over. And I always told people, I said, there's only one 2024 whitetail and elk season. There's only one. Will never be another 2024
You
elk
used
season.
to just say that about whitetail.
Yeah.
Now you've added elk.
Yeah. Oh, that's my
It's
favorite.
a sickness.
It is. It's a good though. It's a good.
Down with the sickness,
It's
man.
good. It's a good one.
Uh,
It is the most favorite thing I've ever done
yeah.
in the hunting realm. Because when they start talking, man, oh. So we skipped a year.
Have you been close yet?
No. Really, I've only gone the last couple of years. The first year I went back after, I don't remember when it was, 2010 or something when we
Yeah.
went. So 22 we went and run into a guy, John A. Logan, who had connection. Like it was like 200 acres of private next to, I forget how many thousands of acres of public, and he had a cabin and you could rent it for the week. There wasn't a guide or anything, but
Yeah.
you had access to his.
Mhm.
So
Facilities.
Which is
had-
pretty cool.
yeah, he had just started. This was the first year he hadn't booked anybody. And I was like, he's like, I think it worked out to be about $2,000 for 4 people to stay there for a week.
Man, that's
And
cheap.
it really was. And I'm like, well, let's try it and see. Well, it was 103 was like degrees was like the coolest day.
Oh,
we
you guys
had.
were in southern Colorado.
Yeah. And the elk were so high.
Just
It
couldn't
just,
get to
it
them.
just, yeah.
Well, they did live in Colorado.
So we saw pronghorn and bear and Merriam's turkey. And mule deer. And to me, that's at my age, I just enjoy being outside.
Yeah.
Last year we went, were there a couple of days when we come down off the mountain, going to grab something to eat, and got the message that my father-in-law had passed away. So we went right back, loaded up, and drove home. So we were only there a couple of days. So really haven't had a chance to get into it, but and I don't know, we're not going to get to go this year.
Oh, no kidding.
But maybe in the future.
Yeah.
But like I was telling Lathan earlier, if I never get to go back again, I've been. And
Yeah.
and there's nothing that can compare to being in the mountains, especially when you're in a place where there's nothing, you're
It's
just out
special.
there.
It really
Yeah.
is.
I know every time I top one of those mountains out there, or we go into a new canyon, or I know there's probably been people there, but it's the closest I've ever been to feeling like I'm in a place where nobody's been here.
Or the
And
last person that was there was like the Indians. Or, like-
it's just like, but there's just no sign of people.
yeah.
You drop off in some of those holes and you're like, nobody's ever been here.
I want to go deep in that wilderness area sometime.
We've attempted a couple of times. We've got some pretty awesome stories to tell about some of the things that we've attempted. We've learned the hard way. Never head up the mountain right before dark, not knowing where you're going.
Some people gotta learn
The hard way.
Oh.
Because you will end up sleeping on the side of the mountain at a 45-degree angle.
Yeah.
Which you're used to, the way you set up your tree stands and stuff. So
I know there was just, I don't want to tell the whole story, but there was a time where I woke up like at 3 a.m. And when we went to sleep, Wes was next to me from me to you, sleeping in a sleeping bag on a steep incline because we couldn't go no further. We're like, we're done, can't go no further. We've been pushing. It's like 10. We had to quit like at 10:30. We thought we'll be to the top of that mountain in an hour. It was about 10 o'clock, and we're like, no, we're not going to make it tonight. And I woke up at 3 a.m. in the dark of the night, I look next to me and there's no one next to me. And I hear the brush about 10 or 12 yards down the mountain rustling. And I was like, Wes, is that you? Are you okay? He's like, yeah, I've been sliding down this mountain all night. And you're like, I'm finally tangled up in the brush. I'm staying down here. And I was like,
man.
oh, okay. But a lot
That
more
was
to
awesome.
a lot more to that story, but that's just a highlight from it. But
Yeah, we're gonna have an elk episode, which I'm sure will be real interesting. So,
yeah, so we've all applied,
yeah,
but even if, I don't know, you have to wait and see. Like, by chance, if we don't draw, we're going over the counter anyway.
oh yeah,
And if that's the case, you ought to throw the thought around of just going over the counter with us.
Well, the only thing, have you guys give up on the loincloths and that kind of hunting?
No,
we will see.
we still run barefooted in loincloths. Speed. It's all about speed. No, I mean, well, Doug said he won't go over the counter.
Well, who cares about Doug?
Poor Doug.
No, we love him.
Well, that's just a hypothetical, though. But put that in the back of your mind.
Here's my thing. Over the counter, for the guys that are listening, if you want to go to Colorado and hunt, over the counter is going away.
They say it's going away. It's not locked in for sure.
The vote is in December, and they think they've got the numbers to vote it out. And so,
and you just have to go to Idaho.
You would have to go somewhere else. But right now, Colorado is the largest number of over-the-counter tags in the U.S.
Yeah. So there's
And-
no other. There's Idaho. Is there any other states that do over-the-counter?
I don't think on elk.
Oregon
but
don't
that
have
being
an
the
over-the-counter?
case,
They have-
Oregon does.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does.
Seems like Oregon.
Yeah, they have certain spots where you can get over
Yeah.
the counter.
Yeah.
So,
It might get crazy because they're not probably as big as areas, but
but the closest to us here in Illinois would be Colorado, and it's by far the most, tags.
in Colorado, I guess, has the highest number of elk of all the states. Just
I think so.
just
Yeah, the
of
largest herd.
largest herd. Yeah.
So that in theory is going away here shortly.
Potentially after this season, there will
Yeah.
be no over-the-counter tags.
So if you are wanting to go elk hunting, if you're going to do it over the counter, you probably want to do it this year.
And you can get into some good hunts over the counter.
Yeah, you can.
Man, we had one 12 yards the year before that, or 2 years before that. We had that big bull. We
We
found
had
on
a freak. Yeah.
we found him on a lonely mountain.
Yep.
We called it Lonely Mountain. It was just this little mountain that was off to itself, right next to a draw zone.
I took my shoes off because I said, this is holy ground. It was good, man.
Man, at 8:30 that
Uh,
morning, we were in the elk, weren't we? We
Yeah.
moved locations and found this little place and got a bull to bugle like at midnight or something. Just
was
drove
good.
drove an old mountain road bugling and got a bull to bugle. And we just backed in right there, slept in the truck, got up next morning, walked up there, and at 8 o'clock there was like elk everywhere. And then the next evening, or that evening,
It was that evening. Yeah.
Wes had a big, wide, I can't tell you what he had.
I think
but
he was a 6x7.
He was a great big wide bull,
Yeah.
like at 70 yards.
Yeah, he was a giant.
It was a big bull. I remember when he turned,
And I got jammed up by that stupid spike.
had a spike 4 yards from you, like
Stared me down. I was like,
Yeah.
if you would step over just a little bit, I'd send this.
Yeah, man, that bull talked to us a bunch too. He just
Yeah.
blowed the top of the mountain off. But
He was at 70 yards. And I mean, he had a death wish, but
yeah, he stayed just.
I
in the
didn't
right
have what it
place.
took. So,
You didn't get a shot off, so you never
Yeah.
know if you have what it took. But
well, for all those watching, man, we've had a lot of people watch this evening. It's been good.
good.
Jeff Mitchell's watching now. Jeff, come on sometime. We'd like to talk to you too. Here in a couple weeks,
He's
we've
never
got,
killed a big deer in his
I
life.
don't. I've heard rumor, but
When I was a kid, Jeff, we thought you were when I was young, I remember being at your house at a party. It's like he had these big heads hanging in there everywhere. I was like, this guy's legit. I did. I remember thinking,
Yeah.
Yeah.
For
Has a
years,
daughter.
everybody talked about how Jeff could kill big bucks.
Yeah,
Mhm.
he has a daughter that's named Sarah, and she had us all for like an 8th grade party over there or something like that. And I remember they were out there cooking hot dogs, and I was looking at these big deer heads on the wall, dreaming.
Yeah. Here in a couple of weeks, we've got Matt Griswold coming on. Matt's going to talk about he's going to Africa, and he's going to kind of give us a rundown of how that's going to play out for him.
The Dark Continent.
Yep. And then when he comes back, we're going to talk about, he's going to bring some footage from it, and we're going to get an idea.
We'll do a lead in and a follow up.
That's right. For the
That'd be
guys
neat.
that have ever considered going to Africa or even thought about it.
I want to know more about it because that'd be something on the list that I'd love to do one day.
I think so.
Let's go.
Don't say that twice.
Oh,
Next year, Africa.
I told, and that's where when I was talking to the guy that we got the Colorado connection with the cabin, he had African hunts, and I told my Joe, I said, I think that's what I want to do for my retirement, just go to Africa. And she goes, have fun. I said, you wouldn't go? And
Do you
she-
retire this year?
I have one more year. I've got 14 months and I'll be done working forever. This is the last summer of my life that I have to
are
work
you
on.
going to go up to Alaska and do it up there? I
Oh,
knew at
don't
one
know.
point.
Yeah, I
you
would love to go to Alaska.
Yeah.
I would too. Moose hunting in Alaska.
I'm telling you, if you ever eat caribou meat too, you would probably enjoy shooting it.
I've eaten caribou because you killed it and
Yeah.
fed some to me.
I'll hunt any big mammal. I will. That's legal. I mean, that's my thing. I've never been much of a bird hunter. I'm sure I would love duck hunting and all that stuff because I love hunting. I've done the turkey hunting, and my problem with turkeys are you can master a turkey from what I've seen and what I did. And I know that can upset the turkey hunters, and it's fun, don't get me wrong, but when you master the call and the right season, you're going to call a bird in and get him. But I'm telling you, those big mammals, the big mammals, elk, elk is a perfect blend of turkey hunting and whitetail hunting set in the mountains.
One person asked if Africa can be a write-off for the show.
Figure it out.
Yeah. I'll have to talk to my tax lady about that.
And those are all big mammals over there.
They are.
Yeah.
Some small.
What about
mammals.
a blue whale? Can you shoot a blue whale?
That's not legal. But I've got
Who's
a bow.
packing it out?
I've got a bow. I've got a bow that has enough energy to kill a blue whale.
Yep. All right. For all those watching, we appreciate it so much. It's getting late, so we're going to let you guys go to bed, and we'll catch you guys on the next one. So, Craig, we appreciate you coming on.
Thank you.
What
I
about the
enjoyed it.
special guest?
Oh, yeah. We do want to bring on our special guest. Well, why don't we have the special guest come up and you interview him for a couple minutes?
We don't have to do that. Because
Come on up here, Willie. You take my seat.
and then you'll wrap us up.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we got Willie Robinson all the way from
Louisiana.
Alexandria. No.
West Lafayette.
West Monroe.
West Monroe.
West
Yeah,
Monroe,
West
Louisiana. I should
Monroe.
know that.
You should know where you
I
live.
should.
Yeah.
I should.
So how's your dad and all them
They're
doing?
doing great. They're doing
They're
great.
good.
Yeah. Still
Miss-
preaching the word of God.
Miss Kay's good.
Yep.
Jay's doing well.
Yep. I do
Kill any
well.
ducks this year?
I think we killed 1,300.
1,300? What about the ducks? Well, anyhow, this is not Willie Robinson. That's Jared. I don't know where he come up
I
with that.
could
rig,
make a
but
good Willie Robertson.
One last interesting trivia, though. Willie does have our videos.
Does he?
Yeah, Willie was at a show we were at and spent some time with us in Alabama, I think it was, and took home. That was when Buck Commander had just launched,
Just launched.
and he was there.
I never thought
selling
it'd
videos.
work, but it worked out
I
pretty
guess
good for
so.
him.
I don't
And
know.
here we are now on up for discussion.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
may either used ours for coasters or skied our DVDs, but
You
He
probably.
bought some.
He's like, do you need a coaster? Is that what you led with?
Yeah.
Uh,
I
I remember the first time. Yeah, they do.
snap 'em
I
and
think
you
I've
could-
used them for ice scrapers. But I do remember the first time I met you. I met you at I think it was ATA show the first time. And I say met you. I got to stand in a group while people shook your hand. So you don't know me, but I know you.
I remember.
You remember?
Yeah, I remember. I remember.
Well,
I was
how-
there.
How good.
He told me a story when he first started preaching because all the boys had to go to school, I think, to seminary, if I remember the story correctly. The
He
church,
should know.
the church, the first church he was a preacher at were all senior citizens, and he always preached every Sunday a fire and brimstone salvation message. Even
Yeah.
though the 30 people that were there, he said they would just say, "Bless your heart,"
Yeah.
and pat him on the back.
Somebody
"Good
in the
job."
comments commenting something.
I thought you were gonna say the first time he got up to speak, he was 3 minutes in, and there was a guy going, "You got 5, you got 4 to 5
Counting it down,
That's never happened to me. Even at that place, that never happened to me. So I don't know what
You
what
know,
did.
I don't know what happened that year, but I part of it, I think they put so much into, an hour and a half. They tried to get because it was like
They was really having trouble getting that fire started. They cut into your
well,
time.
that year they had like 3 or 4 speakers. They had the fire starter. They had different things like that, and it was like they was basically giving everybody probably 10 minutes.
Yeah.
But you should tell a speaker, especially when he's got a 3-minute video. You should tell the speaker, "Hey, you got 10 minutes." I would have been prepared. I don't know if I alluded to that earlier. If you would have said, "Hey, you got 10 minutes," I would have been like, "All right, all right,
Thanks.
I
Yeah.
can do what I can do in 10 minutes." But when you get up and you're 4 minutes in and he's like, "You got 5," that throws your
So they
your
probably told us we only had 10 minutes. We just didn't
you didn't
give
tell
you
me
the information.
Yeah. Go speak. You're the keynote. No, you're not the keynote speaker. You're just the guy that's got 10 minutes. And then when you
2-minute video,
and then when you
3-minute introduction.
and then when you get done, I basically did my whole sermon in 2 minutes. And everybody just stood there in silence as I
They
said,
was like, "Man, that guy just talks about himself." I thought we were coming to be ministered to.
yeah. All he did was tell us who he was and that his Bible looks like a rangefinder. And anyway, so I don't know. That was that. But, well, we're so glad that everybody listened, watched, got to see that Willie made the show tonight.
That's right.
Willie's beard looks almost as good as Wes's beard right now.
Almost.
But not quite. But anyhow, we're so thankful for everybody watching. Don't forget to comment. You've been doing great. Like it and share it. And anything else, Wes? I think that's it. We're so appreciative. We love you so much. This has been what episode? 14. Episode 14 of Up for Discussion. Thank you so much.
Peace.
Bye-bye.